Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jan Nordman. I work for Fraunhofer. We make audio codecs, MP3, AAC are the most known ones. And I'm happy to welcome you to our MPEG-DASH panel, which is titled The Next Steps Towards Broad Adoption. We had a DASH panel at the recent Streaming Media West conference and talked about a number of items there related to DASH. Today we're trying to basically report on the progress we made since then. And I'm very thankful that we have a esteemed panel today that I will introduce in a second. Just to give you a brief overview of what we're going to do in the next 45 minutes. I'm going to present a few minutes on DASH to set the stage. Then we're going to do actually some DASH demos. We have some cool devices playing DASH live. So assuming the Wi-Fi will be in our favor, those should be really nice. And then we will have lots of time for a discussion on the stage and, of course, Q&A at the end. And we'll also stick around afterwards. If you have any additional questions, we can address those as well. So the panel, from left to right, we have Jeff Misenti with Fox News Digital. He's the Chief Digital Officer at Fox News. Then we got Tim McConnell from Solokai Systems, the Executive Vice President Engineering. We got Andrew Popoff with ByDRM, the CTO at ByDRM. And we got Kilroy Hughes with Microsoft. Kilroy is in the Windows Azure team, a senior digital architect there. And I'll give them a chance to talk a little bit more about their roles in their individual companies in a minute. So let's just set the stage a bit. I'm rather sure you're all familiar with these options that exist today for adaptive streaming. So we got proprietary systems from Microsoft Smooth, we got Adobe HDS, and we got Apple's HLS. All great systems, but if you're a service provider targeting multiple devices, you either have to support one of those or, in most cases, many of them, which is, of course, costly. That's why MPEG in 2012 finalized a standard called MPEG-DASH that is supposed to overcome this market fragmentation that was introduced by the proprietary systems. So DASH stands for Dynamic Adaptive Streaming over HTTP. And yeah, as I mentioned, it's an ISO standard. So coming up with the standard is one thing. Of course, it has to have some unique features besides the fact that it's an open standard. Open standard means, on the other hand, that it's not controlled by a single company, but it's a finalized specification, no moving target. And a number of the companies, like Microsoft, like Apple, like Netflix, have been involved in developing this standard. So hopefully, at the end, it will result in industry convergence and a vibrant ecosystem for adaptive streaming based on MPEG-DASH. Some unique features, we can talk about those later, more in detail. For live services, it offers very low latency. It supports both the MPEG-2 transport and base media file format in the standard. Common encryption is a big thing to enable multiple DRMs without needing to re-encode and re-encrypt. We have multi-language support, which allows, for instance, late binding audio if you have services in different countries or want to offer more audio later down the road. We have templated manifests that allow a fast startup. And we can deliver non-segmented origin files. And very important to many broadcasters, also allow very efficient ad insertion techniques. So this is something we didn't just make up. Actually, very recently in March, the EBU conducted a survey amongst their members, which are, to a large extent, TV broadcasters, many of which offer services over HbbTV. And they had some interesting results. 85% of those broadcasters surveyed are planning to introduce MPEG-DASH services over the next, let's say, 12 to 16 months, many of which already want to start this year. 100% of the surveyed broadcasters want to do live services, but also almost everybody wants to do on-demand, and half of them time-shifted services. When they were asked about the main benefits of DASH, they said in that order, it's an open standard, it's reducing packaging distribution costs, it hopefully enables a broad ecosystem, and it supports multiple DRMs. The major concern, on the other hand, they expressed were the availability of clients and control over that client. When they were asked about which are their target devices, the results are not very surprising because those are mainly HBB TV broadcasters, so they are aiming at connected TVs and set-top boxes, but followed by mobile devices running on Android, iOS, and Windows. There's a white paper summarizing all the results of that survey available on the DASH-IF website. So when we say MPEG-DASH and DASH-IF, there are two different things. MPEG-DASH is an ISO standard, which is very flexible. It's a great specification, and it standardizes how to switch video smoothly across different bit rates. It specifies what the manifest file looks like, or what the segments look like. Because it's supposed to be flexible, it does not specify things like how the audio and video is encoded, so the codecs, how the content is protected, how the segments get to the client or what the client should do after reading the manifest, and also where to store other useful information regarding this content. So how to really use MPEG-DASH is left to SDOs and other industry consortia. And the first one that took on the task to actually break it down to a practical implementation of DASH is the DASH Industry Forum that was started in 2011 as the DASH Promoters Group and exists as the DASH Industry Forum since 2012, the IBC. And all the panelists are members of DASH-IF except for Fox. Maybe they will join shortly. So we work together in that forum on mainly interoperability. So the main objective of DASH-IF is really to promote and catalyze the market adoption of MPEG-DASH. It did publish interoperability guidelines just today, by coincidence. I heard it's on the website, so you can go to dashif.org and just download them. But of course, it doesn't help just to have implementation guidelines. You also need test vectors and conformance software to validate interoperability. And also another important task of DASH-IF is to collaborate with other SDOs that are now implementing DASH in their specifications to avoid that we have to reinvent the wheel about 10 times or more. DASH-IF has about 67 members today, I think. Notably, some of the members include companies like Adobe or Microsoft that have their own proprietary systems but do jointly work on the standard. Netflix was one of the early supporters already in the MPEG standardization process, and Netflix already has DASH streams online. And a number of companies joined later, so it's really the whole ecosystem that's being present. The DASH 264 or DASH AVC 264 implementation guidelines that were published today are basically a powerful set of initial features that you need to deploy DASH, which includes things like DRM, like codecs, and which addresses the most urgent deployment use cases. All the members that you saw on the previous slide are participating, or almost all of them, in the interop tests, which use the test vectors that are available to the membership and the conformance software to test those vectors and also the available clients. So at the end, the goal is to really have a basic set of features that allow to get DASH started and allow new revenue streams. Just very briefly on what's in that profile right now. It's breaking down the DASH standard to a limited set of things that we want to support, one of which is ISO base media file format. Video codec is H.264, even though now we're also working on HEVC. The audio codec for stereo is HEAC version 2. There's also work being done on multi-channel audio. Subtitles, simple-time text, common encryption, and live and on-demand profiles. Again, this detailed spec is available, so you can just download it and take a look at the specifics. I mentioned a few other ongoing working groups that are further developing the specification with things like ad insertion or backend interfaces or live streaming cases, for instance. As an output, what's available today from DASH-IF is, well, the mentioned implementation guidelines. We also started working on a DASH-IF JavaScript reference player that runs in Chrome. There's a session tomorrow by Jeff Tepper from Digital Primates, sitting right over there, that will focus on this player in particular and how it was developed. So it's tomorrow at 10:30 a.m., I believe. So I encourage you to join that. And of course, go to the DASH-IF website to find more white papers and resources on DASH. So that's just a quick introduction. one thing I said, we want to report progress compared to the last streaming media conference. And one good sign is that other application standards are adopting Dash. We have the standards listed here are either working on it or already have decided to implement Dash into their specifications. Many of hybrids and TV standards like HBB-TV, like ATSC, like DTG. That's a typo in there, it's DTG, not DTS. Of course, in the mobile and the video space, we have, for instance, the DEC ultraviolet specification that is working on MPEG-DASH integration for the common streaming format. Of course, we have to allow connectivity in the living room. And in terms of interoperability, Dash-IF is very active, and also the IMTC is running interop tests for Dash. This table is rather interesting because it actually shows that the market really supports Dash and that we are in the very good phase of enabling the whole ecosystem of encoders, cloud services, media delivery platforms, clients, CDNs, and related services. And also notably at the bottom, we already have content providers in Netflix, streaming Dash. YouTube is experimenting with Dash. And I think we're going to get a demo from Fox News with some content that they prepared for Dash. So this is really encouraging. That's the YouTube channel that's live using Dash. So that's just a brief introduction. The next thing is an experiment. I've never done that on stage. We're going to try to do multiple demos at the same time. So we have a demo of the JavaScript reference player running in Chrome, running from my machine. We have a tablet from Microsoft with Kiro's demo running on the Surface. We have the Fox content being shown in ByDRM Android app. And Qualcomm provided us with their now commercially available SDK. So this is a demo laptop, tablet here that runs what they ship to OEMs nowadays already, which is a Dash client SDK that OEMs can implement to run on Android devices. And Inside Secure provided us with an iPad app that also runs in Dash. So let's try to make this work. I tested the internet beforehand. It looked good. So, well, of course, the resolution is screwed up here. Load button here. While this is booting. Can we get some audio from this source? If not, I'm just going to turn it up here. So what's nice here in this reference client is you can also see buffers and drop frames and bit rates and so forth. And that's available from the Dash-IF website, so you can check it out there. So this is the iPad app from Inside Secure. So we're going to have multiple Dash clients competing over bandwidth. It's not going to drop here. Oh. All right, so that's number 3. And I think Andrew also has it running on his Android tablet. So this is live Dash content that is being served from an edge server to all these different clients that are Dash 264 compatible in most cases. And it works over a conference internet. Wow, amazing. All right. Sorry? See? Platform agnostic. That's all the same source, yeah. Same manifest file hosted on an edge server. So with that, maybe we just continue the demo session. Kiro, maybe you run yours from your Surface laptop, a tablet, sorry.
Yeah, there's 2 types of playback shown here. One is a Windows 8 application that runs in native mode, and this is a Surface RT, which is the Atom processor, and apps that are written for this, this device, we call them store apps, used to be called Metro, will run across all devices in the future. So if I touch the icon there for this particular piece of content, it starts playing the content. It also indicates here the available bit rates, highlights the one that is currently being selected at a particular time. So it's about 1 megabit right now. And down here is the manifest that it's playing. You can,
Can you raise it?
Yeah. Well, we're gonna stick around afterwards, so all these mobile demos you can experience on hand after the panel.
there, I made it full screen too.
It does do full screen.
Might even
Look
be
at
able
that.
to see it a little bit.
Very nice.
Now another mode of operation though is playing in the browser, and this has got several different implementations that can play within the browser. This example here is using a Flash plugin, the OSMF Flash plugin. And it takes one drop-down box and one URL to configure this to play Dash video. So and that will work on several generations of browsers and different operating systems. So what's going on the back end is the part that I'm most involved in the Windows Azure group, which is all of the manifests are being created in response to a URL for the media format being asked for. So when a client asks for a Dash manifest, it gets a Dash manifest. If it asks for HLS or Adobe or smooth streaming, it generates that on the fly, and it generates the media segments on the fly. So there's no need to encode different versions to handle different devices, and this on-the-fly creation also works for live content like live broadcast television.
Okay. Thanks, Kira. We get back to that later. Andrew, you have your Android client running there?
Well, I have Fox content, which we just received recently, and
Google Glass. Number one, apparently there's still some kinks to be worked out, at least on my end. Because apparently when I said, how do you say hot dog in German, I had some extraneous words, and we put up a quote from American Pie that had
All right. I didn't know they were talking about that.
And number two, I end the show with this. Look. I rest my case. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm Megan Kelly. Shipper. I know.
So-
and the Google Glass knows it.
It does.
so what's happening in the background?
Jeremy's.
This is how, look, this is how
Basically,
you're gonna
we place the MPEG-4 content behind our Dash Media server, and our iOS client, which is supporting Dash today with a common encryption, fetching the MPEG-DASH content directly from our media server. We basically do the real-time transmoxing to the MPEG-DASH and streaming live the content with a common encryption with a playwriting.
Excellent. Thanks, Andrew. And finally, Tim?
So this is a variation of the Dash IF reference player that we put together for IPVN Path 1 in San Diego for a demo for NAB. And actually, it was an end-to-end demo that they did. So let's see if I can control any of these things from upside down. I can't, but there's an additional tab here that shows the interface to their encoder. Sorry, I know I can do this. Their Pixie encoder that's basically doing live encode of some content. So this is the interface for that, and they're doing encode, and it's being served out from an Akamai server. And you can see that the buffer here was showing how much data was in the buffer, and it was usually up pretty high until everyone started streaming all their things. We're getting squeezed down now, but we still are live and still playing that. I could take it to large screen, but you can get the idea and you come see it afterward.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. Oops, jumped to the wrong slide. So that's it for demos. As I said, you can check them out all after the panel as well. So let's actually get to the discussion. I'm sure there are a lot of questions about Dash in the room. But let's start with each panelist having a chance to briefly say what they're doing in terms of Dash. I'm going to start briefly with introducing Jeff. As I mentioned, Jeff is the digital chief officer at Fox News and Fox Business Networks. In his role, he's responsible for strategic direction of the products under Fox News digital portfolio. And Jeff, maybe you can just briefly say what's your, why you're here, why do you support Dash?
I think you needed a less intelligent person on the panel, so you invited me. I think that the one thing that always is interesting for me in all of these situations is that you sit on panels with very smart people, and you have to realize that at the onset, I work for a media company, and that we're not technologists. So as we look at things like Dash and video, it's core to what we do, and delivery of that content and expectation is very high. We try and do it with very small teams. So, you know, we run the 30th largest website in this country with 17 people. We're happy about that. We don't want to grow to 100. And one of the things that we look to try and force and do all the time is to say that we're forcing standards, and we like to stand behind standards. So around video, we were the first media outlet that went live across the board with segmented streaming, both clips and on demand. And when we saw that stuff, we saw some really great experience improvements for the users, and we also saw some great things for monetization. So as we move forth, standards like Dash are very good for us, because as people consume more and more content, especially in a live world where they're not only expecting one stream, they're expecting multiple streams at any given time, and we have that ability to be able to bind all that information together and then send dynamic information, whether it be doing server-side ad stitching, which we've just been playing with today, do it all outside of the client. That's exciting for us. I think that, you know, we at the end of the day have some really good JavaScript developers, and if we can get to a Chromeless player, which this we believe will help us to do, that we're just interacting with XML they would, in the fashion they would for anything else. Video is just an object at that point. It opens up a lot of opportunity for us, and the biggest opportunity for all of us, especially as publishers, is addressability. So whether it be for what the user's doing, where they're coming from, device or monetization, one-to-one addressability becomes something that's much less sophisticated when we can use the edge to do those types of things. So we're excited about the direction of these things, because it takes a lot of the engineering off of us as publishers. One format goes out, we do all of our manipulation on the CDN or on the edge, and then we do interaction with that based on script variables that we're saying is that how fun do we want to be. And I think the other thing that's been really exciting for us is that TV everywhere is finally real. I mean, I spent 3 years with people saying it's going to happen. You know, I can tell you with some of the news events as of late, you're not talking about tens of people anymore. You're seeing north of 1 million people come and authenticate with cable subscriptions. That's only going to grow. So when you see those kind of things happen around news events, to be able to deliver content in a format that just works everywhere, we have enough sophistication or complication with the user experience with forcing people to accept the fact that they have a cable subscription that they don't understand how to get to. So if we can get a lot of the complexity out of the way after that process, it helps the user experience across the board. So, you know, again, I think the ubiquity in all of this is what intrigues us the most. Okay. Thank you very much. For now, we'll certainly come back to many of those topics later on. Let's continue with Tim McConnell. Tim works as an executive vice president for Solikai Systems. He oversees the engineering department at his company with over 20 years of experience in digital video. And Solikai is best known also for the work they have done in DEC ultraviolet on the conformance and verification program there. And Solikai is now also active in MPEG-DASH and providing that know-how to the Dash community. So I hope I didn't say too much. Tim, maybe you can just add to that.
No, that was good, Jan. So we're an engineering services company, been around 10 years, but a lot of us have worked together at previous companies for about 20 years. And what we're always trying to do is find what's the next cutting edge thing, what is everyone talking about, where's the buzz, where are people going to be looking for services to get themselves ahead of the ball here. And we've really seen that in Dash, and I've just been so impressed at how quickly Dash has gone from trying to get a standard together to rooms full of people learning about it. And my hat's off to Jan and Will Law and Raj Sodagar for really pushing that and really, generating the buzz around Dash, because I hear a lot of people asking about it, a lot of people working toward it. We've already been involved in 3 different projects supporting our customers in Dash, and we've got a few more that are in the pipeline right now. So a lot of things happening for us in this space.
Okay, thanks, Tim. Moving on to Andrew. Andrew is CTO at ByDRM. ByDRM is, a company that belongs to a Korean company nowadays,
Unisoft, yeah.
Unisoft. And Andrew is the CTO. He started his career as a key OS platform architect and lead developer at ByDRM. His expertise covers DRM as well as streaming, content delivery, media format specifications, and mobile playback platforms. Andrew prepared one slide or 2 slides that maybe can be used to highlight what they're working on with some of the content guys. I shouldn't have opened so many windows here. Andrew, start talking. I'll bring up your slide in a second.
Sure. We at ByDRM basically provide DRM solution as a service. We commonly working with play-ready DRM, but besides that, we provide now media servers which can deliver the content to the different clients. We also provide a playback platform, specifically on iOS and Androids, which supports Play-Ready and Dash, HLS, small streaming, multiple different formats. Was actually the earlier adopters of the MPEG-DASH when we received the specification, when we got into the Dash industry forum, we start working on adapting the first proof of concepts, and one of the proof of concept which we made was Olympics games, and we basically at the ByDRM we provide the playback platform for MPEG-DASH live content, which was streamed in Belgium. Many different companies has been involved in the process, so the content was streaming from different encoders as Harmonic and MediaXL. Then the content has been pushed to the media servers, Cold Shop and Wowza. Cold Shop has been doing common encryption with MPEG-DASH and was served through the Belgian CDN to our clients and Adobe clients. So that was the first proof of concept of the MPEG-DASH.
It was the Olympics trial. Yeah.
We also did we also did the proof of concept with Fraunhofer and HBO Go content. We implemented support for AEC 5.1 surround content, and we demonstrated at Streaming Media West recently.
All right.
And one of our focus, as I said, now basically we're providing the whole stack of the solutions, including the media services, which solely focusing on the Dash and which doing multiple muxing to the different formats. We do also provide playback platform, which support Dash with a common encryption. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Andrew. So we get back to the player side in a minute. And finally, Kiroy with Microsoft, working in the Azure team. Kiroy has been involved in writing specifications for 15 years probably, being involved in as a DEC, ultraviolet, in things like SMPTE time text, Blu-ray specification, HD DVD, and even earlier the VC1 and AVC video codecs. So Kira, what's your role nowadays with Dash?
Well, rather than writing specifications, I decided to start implementing them. So I'm in the Windows Media Azure service group, which builds media services on top of the Azure cloud platform. The Azure cloud platform is an operating system on data servers that span the globe, and there are roughly a million computer cores available to allocate to tasks like encoding and streaming. And the media services are a platform for others to build television channels or movie services, anything that you can think of to do with audio video. So rather than having people have to program all that, they can just go to a website, use REST APIs, configure 10 television channels and stream them globally. So we see DASH as a very important enabler to scale up the potential of video delivery over the internet. And that, assuming we're successful, it will be a major share of the TV and movies delivered in the next few years. Now, one of the things that is really crucial to that success is implementation in HTML5 browsers. That allows the publisher to decide what format they're going to deliver just by including some JavaScript in a web page. And then we can pretty much say that HTML5 browsers are ubiquitous across all of the devices that are likely to be targeted for streaming. And at that point, that means that they can write once in comfortable web language and have that play on millions, perhaps billion devices.
Okay.
We're coming to the point where that's starting to roll out now. There's one browser, the Chrome browser, that's been tracking the W3C specs. The W3C specs have just stabilized so that other browsers will now implement them, and so pretty soon, later this year, I think we're going to see that be a major driver for DASH. We'll have a lot of eyeballs out there, and publishers will have the option to distribute in DASH to reach all of them.
Yeah. Very interesting. So talking about publishers, Jeff, what are the target platforms that you try to reach with your content, and what role does Dash play in that? Are you trying to use Dash on every platform, or what's your strategy there?
Yeah, the target platform is everything, and it changes every day. There's no place that we don't want content to be. I mean, people are coming for consumption of content in different ways. So, whether it be connected TVs, whether it be News Corp's an investor in Roku, so we do an awful lot with them. But I mean, we really believe in the browser. So as we look at things going forward, is that we believe that with HTML5, with that player, that the browser is the ubiquitous thing that we'll target across the board. It's a fragmented environment now, but we've seen some good success, and we will do times when we'll decide just to push the HTML5 player in a variety of places just to see what's going on as far as where you can see errors and that kind of fun stuff. I mean, we have a large audience to play with as far as desktops, but I don't think that there's a target device or type. I think that the biggest target for us is to say that as we play going forward, we'd like to develop in the browser as opposed to natively in all of these different platforms. We've stayed true to that now. That's why our content doesn't live in certain places. But that's really our focus. Right? Our focus is to say that we believe that we can be really good JavaScript developers, and to that end, that means that we need to have some unification in the browser and the way that whether it be the player or how video plays back in the browser works going forward.
Okay. So basically, once the critical mass of browsers have the HTML5 capabilities and have implemented what W3C is working on, he would be basically
We're
ready
ready
to roll
now,
it.
yeah. I mean, so the big thing for us is that we just started with dynamic insertion of ads, server side. So the big thing in video players, as I'm sure everyone knows, is that with an ad, technically there was player on top of player. So binding that manifests with the ad, at call or at scale to a mass audience was a big step in the right direction, because we're able to eliminate one variable in being the ad client. So if we can eliminate that and still have the addressability we had with code in the page, that's a big step in the right direction. But yes, we started to play with this and roll it out in different places today. You see a demo here. We've done other things with Akamai to use their edge to start to push out content in this format. I mean, you're really just waiting for the adoption to happen, and we're already there.
Yeah. Okay, so Andrew, you're also working with many of the content providers, also content providers that have paid models. So what's your feedback? What do you hear from them about also packaging content for Dash, re-encoding? What's required from their side?
Well, I can talk from our product perspective. For example, within our products, it's a really less effort. For example, we do have our customers as HBO Go, which today using a smooth streaming. One of the example is with our new Dash Media Server product, we can easily turn them into the Dash.
How does it work?
Effortless, which basically we can do transmoxing of their smooth streaming content into the Dash in real time, as we demonstrated with the Fox. Fox was using MPEG-4 content. We was transmoxing this content into the MPEG-DASH. With the HBO Go, for example, we can do transmoxing from the smooth streaming to the MPEG-DASH content and easily stream it to multiple different devices across all platforms.
So this works on Android, but does it also work on iOS, or how do you address it? We can stream it to the Android using MPEG-DASH. We can stream content via Wi-Fi to iOS tablets and then convert it to the HLS. We can also deliver from one origin server HLS format, for example, with one product, which means it's really effortless for the content owners to go to Dash from our perspective, because again, we do support common encryption, which means we can add multiple different DRMs without even, like, let's say not only Play Radio, let's say there is multiple different devices which support different DRMs. On the fly, we can add different headers which can signaling different DRMs to act and receive the licenses besides of the Play Radio. So. Okay, interesting. Because I mean that's one of the critical questions, of course, when we talk about how will Dash be used, is always which client it's available on. Will Apple support it? Will Android support it? And I think we're seeing some good ways how to enable Dash on those platforms even before those companies have integrated Dash. The Qualcomm tablet is a good example of a chip provider to OEM companies that integrates Dash deeply into their chip, so that an OEM that runs an Android device can already use that Dash functionality without Google even being involved in that. But Kira, on the Azure team, I think you're also working on this from a cloud-based perspective.
Yeah, we address the same issue of needing to just encode once, but deliver to whatever the devices are. And I think it's going to be a long time before everything is HTML5 Dash capable. So
yeah.
We have to make it economical for services to introduce a new format and not abandon their old format or multiply the cost.
Yeah.
So we use the same transplexing approach, common encryption, and then that's compatible with multiple license servers.
Yeah, and I mean, you work for Microsoft, so you guys have been developing Smooth for a long time. It's rather, it's one of the more popular streaming systems today. So where do you see from a technical perspective the benefits of Dash versus Smooth or versus HLS, the other platforms?
Well, one is on the media format side, and they're Smooth and Dash, at least the Dash IF profile of Dash are very similar. So we can encode the segments the same way for both, and then a device can either pick a Smooth manifest or a Dash manifest, and very little changes. The MPEG-2 transport stream format, though, has got some serious drawbacks, and even though we can transmux that, it's much less efficient for delivery. One of the features of the Dash IF Dash 264 profile is separate encoding of audio and video, so that any device gets to decide which ones to combine, and the publisher doesn't have to encode dozens or hundreds of times to get all the right combinations. And then if they do want to add a new language for a new territory, all they have to do is add one new stream to the server, not have to rework all their existing content.
Mm-hmm.
So those are features that are mostly the profile selected by Dash
Yeah.
Industry Forum, and drawbacks to using a Dash manifest with MPEG-2 transport stream chunks.
Yeah.
There are several other advantages. Common encryption, probably the most important, and then being able to rapidly adapt with short segments that splice easily. That means that it's much more efficient on bandwidth and better user experience rather than long, say, 10-second segments of MPEG-2 transport streams.
Yeah. So talking about this Dash 264 profile, one essential aspect of that is, of course, testing interoperability between currently test vectors and clients, but at the end, it's also about testing the quality of service that you can reach. Tim, you've been doing similar things in DEC for the ultraviolet format. Can you just tell us a little bit what Dash IF has been doing so far, and where do you see the next steps needs to be?
Sure. So as you said, we built a compliance verification program for ultraviolet for DECE, and that's really relevant because as DEC moves forward to their common streaming format, which will be based on Dash, there'll be a similar type of program that they'll want to put together there to confirm that all the pieces play together appropriately. I'm excited that a lot of big players have really put a lot of energy and a lot of resources into making sure that things are working well together. I mean, Microsoft and Akamai and Qualcomm and Ericsson, a lot of companies are building players, generating test vectors, and there's a lot of great cooperation to make sure that things do play well together. I think a next step beyond that ultimately is going to be to build a complete program that really confirms that you're not going to have any snafus in the future where you have some devices that interoperated well together, but suddenly there's some new format that someone starts encoding at that breaks some of the players. So I think there's some thoughts going forward to be able to build a similar type of verification program for Dash to be able to, one, verify that things play well together, and two, verify that things follow the rules that you want them to. With Fox's excitement about generating content and what Jeff was saying about dynamic ad insertion, the last thing you want is to have a player out there that someone can flip a switch on that then starts skipping all these wonderful ads that we've put in the content. So you really want to make sure that you've got some sort of structure around what gets the stamp of approval about content and players.
I like that. We got about, I think, looking at the time, maybe 5 or 6 minutes left to get questions from the audience. So please raise your hand, and I'll repeat your question in case we couldn't hear you. Any questions to the panelists?
We've already answered everything.
Oh my God, amazing.
What do you think Apple's going to do?
That's a very surprising question. I didn't expect that to come.
Never heard about this question.
Yeah. Who has the glass ball to talk about Apple?
You mentioned that they were involved in the ISO effort?
Yes, that's
but
correct.
Not in the -IF? Is that
Well, there are two things that happened. One is Apple did participate in the MPEG standardization of MPEG-DASH. They sent representatives, they contributed. Another thing is that while Dash was developed, HLS got certain improvements, which you can call a result of the MPEG-DASH standardization or not, but they were certainly influenced by that. So even if they don't support Dash in the near term, we already have a benefit in terms of improving HLS. And we have iPad apps, for instance, that take an approach of transmuxing today that can allow services to run on iOS platforms. And then it's basically a business decision on Apple's end if one day they also will support Dash. I think nobody in the Dash industry forum believes that Apple will drop HLS and do only Dash next year. But one of the hopes is that a standard like MPEG-DASH can at least help to remove fragmentation so that maybe for the time being we only have HLS and MPEG-DASH rather than 4 or 5 of those systems.
Do you know of any intellectual property issues around DASH?
I don't.
It's all based on.
Well,
Been running well.
yeah. And Will, do you want to say anything on that?
Yeah, there isn't a patent pool established yet on DASH. There are a number of companies, including Microsoft and Qualcomm, have made commitments that it will be royalty-free, and that is certainly the intent of the DASH IF, is to make it a royalty-free standard. Not everyone who contributed to the development has made that statement, but there's active work to get them to do that, but nor is anyone issuing royalty requests today.
Yeah.
So everyone here, which is a lot of big companies, are proceeding based on that ground. We'd certainly like it if there is a patent pool established, if it's equivalent to H.264, and it's reasonable, that would be a great thing. Or if it's all royalty-free, even better, but I'm a realist.
There's a dynamic there where some of the companies that have been doing this for a long time probably do have a lot of patents, and they're willing to grant them on a mutual non-assert basis. So if somebody does assert something, they run the risk of having some big old companies dump their patent portfolios on them. So hopefully it'll remain royalty-free.
Any more questions? Okay, if that's not the case, I'd like to highlight 2 more things. I mentioned it, Jeff Tepper is going to present tomorrow on how to build a DASH IF or a DASH 264 reference client. And if you want to hear me talk again, I'm going to be at the show floor tomorrow at the same time as Jeff is presenting. I just noticed talking about HEAC multi-channel for Android. With that, I'd like to thank the panelists. Thanks for your attention. And